Hello there. Welcome back to Crying in the Book Club. A very exciting week we have this week, and a very exciting show we have. For show notes, sorry, it just says Chad is back, 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 Chad is back. Not sure what this means. Not sure what's going on, but
I wrote the show notes.
That's true. I did write the show notes. But that voice you heard is Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Wow. Just okay. Chad is back and just okay. How about a little Emily? Emily, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm doing just fine.
Wow. Well, the cat's out of the bag. We have Chad. That was my fault. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said the good C word.
I was hovering over it, threatening to click it, and then I flew too close to the button that time.
Well, I think I said the word cats though, so it worked out. It was good. But yeah, Chad has been in our soundboard for a while, and now we've gotten the premium model. We have the full Chad. There we go. There's Chad. But actual Chad is back. Hi, Chad. Welcome.
I have returned.
Oh, I hope you're gonna do the whole show like that.
Please do.
That would be tiring, and I'm drinking too much to do that. But
yay! It's true. Chad is back, and we're. Yeah, what are you drinking?
Brandy.
Nice.
My good old friend Chinese brandy. Old listeners of the comics podcast would know about all the crazy stories I've had to go through to get $5 brandy sent to me from China.
It was definitely worth it. Yeah, that was.
It's very good.
Yeah, I'm glad it's still very good. Chad, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. I know you're a big fan. I know you listen to a lot of Crying in the Book Club.
I have never listened to this podcast once.
Wow.
That's fine. I like actively try not to have my friends listen to my podcast, so I'm kind of like, there's a part of me.
Yeah, I've been in that game too. It got me really in trouble at work.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Chad's podcast Opinions Are Cheap. Check it out. It's very good. But
well, we're going to have the return of a classic Jean-Luc drunk bit later. I'm not going to reveal, but it is relevant to this comic.
Jean-Luc looks confused. He looks confused. Yeah. He doesn't know what's going on, but it's okay. Yeah. He doesn't need to know.
Yeah, the bit is that you're going to talk about Quinlan Voss.
Oh, I'm definitely going to talk about Quinlan Voss. You completely ruined it, like where I was going with that. But yeah, we will be talking about.
I know. I was trying to seed it, but you needed to know. So yeah, I opened it.
I don't remember that show.
Quinlan? Yeah, I know.
I edited that show and just like remembered like nothing from it. So we gotta have more shows.
Been there. Well, the power is in your hands, buddy.
That's true.
Jean-Luc, you look like you're in like an Afghanistan bunker.
Yeah.
Not
in Afghanistan.
I think
I can't disclose my location, but
I think 2 episodes ago he just looked like he was in a jail cell.
He really did look like he was in a jail cell.
Now he's more underground, so
jailbait Jean-Luc, right?
I'm too old for that and nowhere near attractive enough. No, I'm in an Airbnb where the overhead lights don't work, so that's fun. That's why the lighting is weird. You can see the lighting reflected off my computer screen, but then it just fades into darkness over there. It's great.
I have working overhead lighting. I chose the nice pink mood lighting instead.
Yeah. Gets you in the mood for podcasting.
It sure does.
Because you're classy.
Alex also has RBG lights, but
that's true.
They're currently set to Overwatch yellow, orange, or just yellow, white and orange.
Alex, have you not stopped drinking that Kool-Aid since we last did a podcast?
No, I've stopped it. I just like the colors. It's very nice. keeps me nice and up.
Alex has been on vacation, but the week before, like the days before vacation, Alex was playing Overwatch. I saw it. It was.
That's a lie. That's slandered. I actually was not playing Overwatch. That's not true. That was actually false. Overwatch 2 is out by the time this is out, so maybe I'm just playing that. And by the time you hear this, Chad will have played one game of Overwatch with friends, and then probably never play it again. I think that's the plan.
There's a coin flip chance that'll happen.
See, it's all worth it. Also, I have COVID right now, so if this hosting is a little weird, that's probably why.
Oh, I think I missed that you got COVID, but I guess I intimated that you were sick from.
Yeah,
context.
yeah. It turns out like going to Hawaii when the people who live there don't want you to go to Hawaii. You just get COVID as karma, which is very fair. So, but it was a nice vacation till I got it. Cool stuff. Would do it again. Probably not actually. But that's good. Chad, why are you here today? If you don't mind me asking.
I am here because you graciously invited me on to talk about God Country, which was a kind of a seminal comics podcast comic book, in that it was one we all really liked from Image, and I think our debut reading of Donnie Cates as an author. One of the handful of comics I was like, this is so good, I have to go buy it, and then make all my friends read it because it is amazing.
Yeah. God Country originally came out 6-issue miniseries written by Donnie Cates, art by Geoff Shaw, and it came out between January 2017 and June 2017. So,
that's been a while.
I was shocked to see that it was 2017. I thought this book was like summer 2016. I thought that this was like right when we started doing the comics podcast, but I was wrong.
Yeah,
no, because remember we had all those shitty Rebirth books we had to do first.
I was gonna say we didn't start off well. We had to get through some stuff to get to God Country.
We did like 4 months of the worst comics DC has ever published.
Through the fire and the flames.
Hey, Detective Comics was good for the first 3.5 issues. James Tynion, he's doing his thing. That was pretty cool.
That Wonder Woman run was good, but I think everybody sort of just fell off of it at some point. I think we all just like independently stopped reading it at different points.
I own it all in trade now. It's pretty good, but can't really speak to where I was in 2017. I probably read it. I read too much stuff back then. Her. Yeah, but I mean, I think the main thing about this series was that it came out from January to June, like 6 straight months, and I don't know. Brian Lee O'Malley, Leslie Hung, come on, it's possible. 6 issues, 6 months. We're Snot Girl. We haven't had an issue this year. I don't think we're getting one this year. So
it's still the best comic this year, though.
Snot Girl comic of the year every year.
It is. Actually, God Country was one of the top 10 comics of 2017 on the Comics Podcast. I know because I went back to listen to the last 5 minutes of that show. So
where did you find it? I thought that it's been.
It's just like on Apple Podcasts. It's just like hosted there.
It won't show up for me on my iTunes, but I'm using iTunes like a caveman. And
I only went to like the internet thing part, and then like they said, "Do you want to open iTunes?" I'm like, "No," and it just played it for me. So I think Apple's paying our bills. I think we have our first sponsor for the Comics Podcast.
So Spotify is definitely doing the same thing, because I looked at the Spotify page for the Comics Podcast, and all of the episodes are every episode past like episode 60 something is there and like works. So
but that's how it was. So
that's how it's always. Well, not always, but that's how it's been since. That's
how it's been as long as I was a listener of the Comics Podcast.
Yeah. You don't want to hear those first 60 episodes. There's some. I don't know. Actually,
I want to hear the Aquaman porn one.
I know. I was gonna say episode 10 being lost to time is a true shame.
Didn't we just?
I like the one where you did the porn, Jean-Luc.
I like that one too.
That one's not.
That one we have.
That one we have.
Apple is sponsoring that show right now. So
yeah, you can hear, if you're interested, if you want to listen to episode 169. I think it's 169. I'm pretty sure.
We were so talented. We were so wow.
We are some funny bitches, as it turns out.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You can listen to Emily and Alex and Chad reenact my Admiral Hux erotic fanfic, or not Hux. God, Hux sucks. No. Captain Kennedy.
You know it's true because it
Captain
rhymes.
Kennedy fanfic.
Yeah. And if this podcast gets 10 listens, we're gonna do it again. That's right. Chad will be back in 6 months to read it. Read the fan fiction. And Jean-Luc will write some new chapters.
The Sebulba Watto erotic fanfic. We can release that to the public.
I forgot you actually
I
did
would
that.
love nothing more than that. You joke, but I am on board.
Speaking of great writing, it was writer Donnie Cates' first comic at Image, God Country. He'd previously written The Ghost Fleet and Paybacks at Dark Horse, and arguably it's his big break, because since then he's got on to write Redneck and crossover for Image, and doing some Marvel stuff that I don't, Hulk, Venom, Thor, Thanos. I don't know if any of that's good. I think I read one of them, so it's okay. I know crossover was pretty bad, but they had like the sword from God Country in there in one issue. That was the last one I read. It was like the cliffhanger. It was like Valifax is here, and everyone's like, "What? That's crazy." And yeah, and Geoff Shaw kind of works closely with Cates. Did Buzzkill crossover Thor, Thanos, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Do you know who the artist is on Ghost Fleet?
Yes, Daniel Warren Johnson.
Which is just funny to me because that book
team.
predates the comics podcast by like a couple months, but that would have been a hell of a creative team for like 2017 comics podcast.
It would have been too powerful, I think.
It is. Probably. It's funny, like since this book, Donnie Cates has kind of gone down, and then like, the other guy's only gone up, so it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good old Daniel Warren Johnson. But yeah, if you love God Country, there's a movie announced in 2021, and Cates is going to write the screenplay. Shit. See how that goes. Yeah, it's for Legendary.
Huh.
I don't know what they're doing now, but we'll see.
This actually, this is one of the few comics that I think would just make a good movie. Normally I'm like, no, make it a TV show, like, because, you don't want to feel like you have to rush everything. But, like, I feel like you could pretty much cover all this in a movie.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, oh, the comic's better. And I'd be like, yay, cool. Before we jump into the plot, though, I mentioned that God Country is one of the top 10 comics podcast in 2017. I'm going to give you each a chance to name one other comic that was a top 10 comic in 2017 on the comics podcast. Starting with Chad, you're a guest, so.
Oh, fuck. What happened? The Black Monday Murders.
Ooh, a good book, but not from 2016. 2017, sorry. Jean-Luc, can you name a book that was from 2017 top 10?
Snot Girl?
It's possible because it's correct. Snot Girl was in the top 10 in 2017. That's when the series started. That's when we got our first Snot Girl. Interesting year. Emily, top 10 book 2017.
Mr. Miracle.
Mr. Miracle was a top 10 book in 2017. Only made the list apparently because Alex was asking for it. That's what the audio said. So thank you guys, I guess. The other books there were Kill or Be Killed, Deadly Class.
Oh, remember Kill or Be Killed?
Good book.
Yeah.
So Deadly Class didn't suck.
AD After Death, back when Scott Snyder got a little help from his good friend Jeff Lemire. There's more. I don't know. I have the list upstairs, but those are on there.
I still refuse to believe that Scott Snyder wrote a single fucking word for AD After Death.
If comics journalism was profitable, or even like if I was still in it and I had a chance to talk to Scott Snyder, it'd be like, so AD After Death, what really happened there? What was that like? Oh, come on, it's okay. It's not going anywhere. Yeah. But 2017 was a good year for comics. I think Injustice came out that year too. That made the top 10. Some other stuff made the top 10. Good year of comics. And God Country was part of it. My voice is leaving me. So if someone could please read the plot summary for this book, that would be great while I drink some water and cough.
Was Underwinter on our 2017 list?
It was. I'm actually going to get the rest of the list while I get water and cough.
How did I not guess that? I got a fucking cover quote on that one. I own every trade of Underwinter.
Amazing.
Yeah. I can do the plot summary while Alex goes to get some water. I guess I should also do the spoiler warning since I'm going to explain the plot of God Country. So if you haven't read it, you should go do that. It's worth it, and it's very quick.
It's only 6 issues. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's 6 issues. It's actually a really breezy read too, so you should definitely be.
It really is.
God Country is the story of the Quinlan Voss family. There is Emmett Quinlan Voss, who is the grandfather. Well, he is the father of Roy Quinlan. He's an old widower who is, has dementia. and has had some, when the book picks up, it's right after he's had like a violent outburst where the cops have had to basically like settle him down and get him home, and he's like actively like lashing out and hurting people. um, and so his son shows up with his wife and daughter, his young daughter, to sort of settle him down and figure everything out. But before they can do that, the house gets completely obliterated by a tornado. And from the wreckage of that house comes Emmett. But he remembers everything. He doesn't have dementia anymore or Alzheimer's anymore. But instead of Alzheimer's, he has this really sick, really big sword called Valifax. And
Yeah.
yeah, Valifax is Emmett's homie. Valifax is my homie. All the homies love Valifax. Um,
In this house, we love and support Valifax.
100,000%. All my knives are imbued with the power of Valifax. It's not all good news. There we go. Chad is wielding Valifax. But it's not all good news, because now that Emmett is in possession, Emily's wielding Valifax now. Damn, we got a lot of Valifax.
Yeah, I have my knife has Moomin on it.
It's not That's not Valifax.
Oh, moo.
That's cool though.
Don't be mean.
I like how everything you own, Emily, is on brand.
You know, that's just how I live my life, Chad.
The way that Emmett's adversaries live their lives is that they kill and destroy everybody who takes their cool sword from them. And so he comes face to face with the god of war, Aristus, who's come to retrieve the sword for his father, the All-Father, the god of gods. I've never said this out loud before, so bear with me, but his name is Atom? Something along those lines. Obviously, Emmett doesn't want to give the
Atom.
I
sword
wonder
back.
if that's like Adam, like things are made of atoms.
Yeah, I think it definitely is, right? That had never
I think it's
occurred to me.
Atom.
Atom, yeah. Chad's brain really just going overdrive, as usual, as listeners of the Comics Podcast will know.
As usual.
Yeah. So obviously Emmett doesn't want to give up the sword, but he has to go through some, now that he, has recovered miraculously from Alzheimer's, but he needs the sword to keep it at bay, and so he hangs on to it. He fights through Adam's other son, Baelgrim. Along the way, that his granddaughter gets kidnapped, his son and his son's wife are, attacked by zombies. Everything sort of works out very briefly, and then until Aristus shows back up for a final confrontation, and rather than killing Aristus at the end of this confrontation, Emmett uses Valifax to fly straight to Adam and take the battle straight to his real enemy. And it ends with him, perishing, and his son Roy showing up and seeing him one last time before he dies, as and leaving Valifax behind. You don't need the sword, as the comics loves to tell you. It's not a story about a sword, but it is a story about a sword because there's a really cool sword in it. What really that is what the story is about. But Alex, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back with knowledge, and that was a lovely story that John Luke told about the good old book God Country, coming to theaters soon. Hopefully, who knows? But I just wanted to say,
wasn't that lovely.
No, but it wasn't that not lovely at the same time.
That's fine, yeah.
So yeah, 2017 books: God Country, Snot Girl, Mr. Miracle, Underwinter, Kill or Be Killed, AD After Death, Deadly Class, and 3 more. 2 of them have the word city in them. That's the hint. That's the little hint there.
Did Royal City come out that long
Royal
ago?
City came out in
Astro
2017.
City?
Shit.
And Astro City.
Wow.
I'm a true
Yeah.
2017 era comics podcast fan.
Yeah. And yeah, so the top 10, it wasn't Injustice. That was the next year. It was rounded out by The Wildstorm. So that was the top 10 books of 2017.
God,
Pretty crazy list. Yeah.
The Wildstorm was
Yeah.
a great
And
book.
that was the year where we didn't actually end up on numbering the books that year. We just were like, I think the quote was, we're 45 minutes in and we haven't talked about albums or TV shows. Let's not number them. So that's a let's guess who did that quote. Emily. No. But yeah, it was a good year for books, and God Country was definitely one of the highlights there. I think it could have. I don't know. Would it have been number one that year? Maybe Royal City.
I think Royal
Maybe
City
I probably
probably
would have
would have
gotten
been
God
number one
Country.
that year.
I think it was good that Chad said we should cut it at 45 because we probably could have argued for another 30 minutes. You know, you have Snot Girl in there too.
Oh, the reason
First
that I
Underwinter.
thought that this book was written by Jeff Lemire is because I did, for some reason, I got it switched with Royal City because you guys talked about it around the same time, and it just made a switch in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, me, Chad, and Jean-Luc had read this book previously on the comics podcast, but back then, Emily, you were but a loyal listener, a big fan. So you read it for the first time now, and what did you think? Did it live up to the hype we made it?
I really liked it a lot, and I did actually cry. I really was crying in the book club today, and I can and, like, I guess I didn't expect, because like it got real sad and I was like, yeah, like this is sad, but like I'm fine. And then there was just like one moment that actually really got me, but it's very good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the listeners, Alex held up a like double page spread from the book to the camera, and Emily was like, "Yes,"
and it was exactly
the
the part that made me cry.
Yeah, specifically the scene where Emmett like is dying, and his last thing is he gives his son all his memories and like all his like from his life and like the joy and all that kind of stuff, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Sorry, Donnie Cates. The sculptor already did that scene.
Haha.
Well, I also haven't read The Sculptor, I don't think. Did we? We didn't read that one, huh? For
Oh, you should read The Sculptor.
I
That's
remember.
A good
I know
comic.
I've heard you guys talk about it before.
I think we did it. Did we do a book club, or did I just convince you guys to buy it on the show one time and then we talked about it after?
You convinced me to buy
I
it on
think
the
that's
show
what
one
happened.
time.
Well, no, we did a show on it. It was episode 150. It was like before COVID, so it wasn't like one of the book club shows where there were no regular books coming out. We did The Sculptor, and we did volumes 1 through 4 of holy shit, that Jim Zub book, the one about the Irish girl in Japan.
Wayward.
Yes.
Wayward.
Yeah.
And that was like our 150th episode spectacular. Was we didn't talk about anything. I think we bitched about the new Alien movie, and then we talked about those two books. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could read The Sculptor sometime again, but yeah. Chad, what was it like going back to God Country? Did you do you regret buying it?
Oh God, no. This comic is still like absolutely amazing. Honestly, I think I might like this more now than I did then. I was reading it a bit slower, or at least trying to. I was trying to pay attention to the things narratively it was doing that maybe I would have missed, and just trying to really appreciate it. And I still do. Like, this comic is really good. I would say like every issue of this, if it's either a 10 or like a 9.5, like if I was gonna be reductive and throw a number at it, right? Like it is a fantastic 6-issue series. It is really ridiculously good.
Yeah. If you were gonna log back into your We the Nerdy login, which I'm sure still works, and write an article about it, you'd give it like a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Nice. Jean-Luc, do you agree with the previous two folks?
No, I think God Country sucks now, actually.
Cool.
No,
Right.
no. This is still. I'm like absolutely with Chad here. Like this is a fucking hell of a book. Like I talk a lot about how like I'll like read something that I read like a comic that I read years and years ago, and be like, wow, I can't believe I like that. But no, God Country is like a total fucking like tour de force. Like this shit, like this might as well be a masterpiece. This is like one of the best comics of the 21st century. I think it's fair to say. Like, I don't know, like the levels that like Cates is operating on here is just like something that I don't think he ever quite achieved again, but B, like something that like very few comic book writers can achieve for a 6-issue story, like hands down, I think this book is still like phenomenal. And yeah, like Chad said, it's nice when you can just like sit down and like just read God Country and not like read issue 3 of God Country in the middle of like 6 DC books and 2 Marvel books and 3 other shitty Image #1s that came out in the same week. You can really give it you can really give it the attention it deserves.
This reads so nice as just one complete piece. I didn't even think about the fact that you guys were reading it one issue at a time.
It does such a good job though of going issue to issue. Like everything about this comic is effortless. I took notes when I was reading this on actual fucking notebook paper because I didn't
Wow.
I didn't feel like using my phone, and I was like, I will handwrite notes like a boomer. And
Wow.
like my first note is literally like the precision and ease this comic has to introduce its main cast is insane. But that applies to basically everything in this comic. I feel like every writing decision in this comic is the smart one, and it just seems so effortless. The way he goes from scene to scene and character moment to character moment, I kind of can't get over it. Like I was like geeking out on the writing quality of this as I was reading it.
Yeah, it's remarkable how he goes from like these big like Kirby-esque like fight scenes to like these small character moments, and then just like back and forth, and it works so well. It's also like, I mean, obviously a deeply personal story. He dedicates this one to his dad. I don't really know the story about his dad and everything, but the book's about Alzheimer's and people losing their memory and losing part of themselves and stuff like that. And uh, yeah, it's wild that this was really his first big like project that he worked on, minus a couple dark horse things, but really came out of the park and hasn't really done anything like this since. But hey, we have God Country, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you get the feeling, even though I didn't, I didn't actually notice the dedication, but you get the feeling that this is a very personal story, even just reading it. It's got a lot of that, like, imbued within it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of pain in the first issue of this story, despite it being kind of the way it ends is very uplifting. Emmett gets his memories back. He's got a sword. Like things are looking up, right? But those first like 5 or 6 pages are really gut wrenching. And honestly, to me, I think they were the most tragic parts of the story, largely because like, oh, this is a real, genuine look at someone with Alzheimer's and his family trying to deal with it and splintering and falling apart. Like every scene and every piece of dialogue in that just felt like it came from a very genuine place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the way it establishes Roy and Jane's relationship, where it's like, you know what, they're like, they obviously have their own issues, but that where she's just like done with Emmett. She's done with like what he's become due to the disease and everything, and he's just like, hey, that's my dad. I can't really like abandon him or something. Even though you learn that he wasn't maybe like the most loving father during the life and everything, which makes it, I guess, even more tragic because he's like holding out for it.
I was gonna say the callback to that scene in issue 5 though, where he's fighting the god of war, I can't, Atrium or something like that, and
Astrius.
his wife is like, we need to get the hell out. Yeah, he's like, we need to get the hell out of here, and he's like, okay, and they like, I will drive. Like, he goes through that character arc, right? And so you get kind of a repeat of we need to get out of here, and now he's on board with it and is kind of really realized what he has to lose, what is important to him. And it's one of those things where like it's such an effortless, beautiful way to just showcase character growth without calling attention to it.
Yeah, the thing that really gets me about that first issue is the way that like everything sort of trickles down from Roy's relationship with Emmett, where like, I mean, Alex, this is what Alex was saying, is that like, I mean, you get the sense that like Roy and his wife Janie, I think is her name, like have like a decent relationship, but as soon as they introduce Emmett to the equation, it sort of like blows everything out of the water because it's just impossible to be around some for if you don't have like that close personal relationship that obviously Roy has to his father. Like it's so hard to be around someone with Alzheimer's. And the thing that like really gets me is the way that like at the beginning Roy's daughter, like Emmett's granddaughter, is like so excited to see her grandpa. Like I was like, dude, I was crying in the book club literally at the end of the first issue. That moment, like it's not the last page, but it's like one of the last 3 or 4 pages of the first issue. after he gets Valifax, and it's like this. There's like the really bright like pink and tan and like light blue sky in the background, and Emmett is sort of like turning his head, and yeah, it's exactly the page that Alex is holding it up. And he says, "Did you say Grandpa?" when his granddaughter is running to him, because this is like really the first time that he's like actually meeting his granddaughter. Like that was like such a. I mean, I remember that moment being a gut punch like the first time I read the book, but even this time, like just the way that like that work, the way that scene works, and the way it works on the page turn too, of like you're not really sure what's gonna happen. Like you're not really sure where it's going with the sword, because previously Emmett's just like standing in a crater, like holding Valifax. Um, and then he just like has a smile, this like big smile on his face, and the way that like Geoff Shaw draws, the way that it's like plotted for that to be on the page turn, and the way that Geoff Shaw draws that is just like it's like such like a perfect example of like how you use like the medium and the page turn and the visual parts of the medium to like such extraordinary effect. It's like that is the moment that I think like I mean, previously, like that moment at the end where Emmett gives Roy all of his memories was like the moment that I remembered from God Country. Is like that's like the big emotional beat. But now I'm like, damn, that the it's much smaller. But I think that one in the first issue is just like, and it's so obvious why, like, because I just remember us like gushing about this issue on the show, and just going back and reading, it's like so obvious why that was the case. It's just like so perfectly executed.
100%. It's a pretty good book. I don't know. It's all right.
Yeah,
Stepping
Alex,
back a
you
bit
didn't
to talk
tell
about
us.
the art.
You didn't tell us what you thought about it on this read. If you still liked it, for all we know, you don't like it
Oh
anymore.
yeah, oh yeah, I know it's good. I mean, just the. I mean, it kind of goes to my next question. What is about the art? But the way it like, it has these big bombastic like fight scenes and moments where it's like literal gods fighting each other, and then it's just like it has that moment where, like you said, it's like, hey, seeing your granddaughter for like what is like the first time and having that realization, or how Roy and Jane are like not like mending their marriage, but working on it as they're sort of going through this crazy situation, and it's really cool. Like they're going up against like the zombie horde, and they're just like holding each other, and they're like, "Well, we're probably about to die now." And they don't end up doing that, but it's just like stuff that goes on that really builds them up. But yeah, talking about the art, like I mentioned earlier, that it kind of has this like Kirby-esque inspiration where it's these like big gods fighting each other, and then it's got those small intimate moments. What did you guys think of the art and how it sort of brought that to life with Cates's already established great writing that we've already
Oh, this
mentioned?
book is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
One of the things I noticed on this read is the way the coloring uses temperature to shift between scenes. Where there's a lot of like when things are really fucked up and sad, like it's a lot of cooler colors. It's blues and greens, and they're saturated in kind of a darker way. And then as things get better, you get more yellows, pinks, kind of like light purples. And so like issue 1 and 2 are like this gradient from dark cold colors to bright colors when he first gets the sword and he sees himself and can remember things. And then this transfer back into cold colors until you're in like the depths of space in another dimension where the gods are like, we have to go get this sword back. And that kind of continues on throughout the issue, just this ebb and flow of temperature that I never noticed when we first read this. And I thought it was another like piece of just like effortless brilliance because it's so smart and it's so subtle and it doesn't call itself at all. It just, if you notice it, you're like, fuck, this is cool.
Yeah, it really is like a masterclass all the way through, where it's like,
Yeah, and I think it's like even more evident when you like sort of read it all at once, because like the transition from issue 2 to issue 3, I think, is like where this is like the most like it's the most obvious, because issue 2 was all the like highs of Emmett having his memories back, and Aristus like shows up to get Valifax back from Emmett in issue 2, but they don't actually fight. They have like this like sort of like one-on-one conversation where they go, Aristus and who is the son of the All-Father God, and Emmett go off, and like they basically just talk it out and come to like a settlement and an agreement, and both of them like understand the sort of like impossible situation the other is in, where Aristus has to get the sword back because it's the only way that he thinks he can like prove himself to his father, and Emmett can't give the sword back because it's the only lifeline he has to his son and to his son's family. And that whole interaction, like those like 5 or 6 pages, is like fantastic. Um, and then in issue 3 is, you know, it starts off sort of slow with like the family having these conversations with each other, but then it also like it introduces Baelgrim, who's the other son of the All Father God, and is the one who brings who brings in the like this like horde of zombies. And that's like the most like, I think if you go like page for page on like issue 2 and issue 3, you see that color gradient changing like in such an obvious way, where it goes from like really bright, and then it's like all cast at night, it's all in shadows, it's like purples and dark blues and stuff. It's and it's the kind of thing where like if you go a month between reading the issues, you may not necessarily notice it, right? Because, you know, it's been a month since you looked at the art the last time. But when you read them like back to back, you're like, oh shit, this is actually like really a really clever way of like casting.
Yeah, I really like the character design for the god characters. I think they all look very interesting, and like you can really, it's, you know, the mark of good character design, especially in something like this, when you can kind of like look at one of them and get what their whole deal is. And I think they all exemplified that really well. And I think they all just look very cool.
I love the first panel where you see Baelgrim, and he's like topless. You can tell he's evil because he's got like really pale skin and like the
Oh
maroon
yeah,
coloring on his brooch, but like he's kind of hot. It's like it is like so amazing, like the way that like
so
he's
good.
cast, like right off the bat, you're like, oh, I know exactly who this motherfucker is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of humanity in like their designs too. Like they're god characters, but they're still, at the end of the day, they're still written as people, and they're still portrayed as people. Like the way they emote, and especially when they're like losing or kind of despairing, and it brings them down to the same level as everybody else, despite the fact that they could like destroy the planet they're on. And it does so much to just add to like the gravitas of Emmett as a character, of Valifax as an object, but then just to the story itself, where everybody is on the same level despite being drastically different in power.
Yeah, I mean, even the gods, it's a father son story there too, right? Where like, you know,
Oh
Aristus is
yeah.
and Mister what's his name? Baelgrim. I love that name.
The
That's
moment that
fantastic.
I like realized that that's what the book was doing, I was like, "Ooh, yes. I love the relationship parallels."
So, what do you guys think of the relationships, Pharrell? I mean, I'd say especially with Aristus, because he's sort of the guy who we get the most time with, and he's, in my opinion, painted as like a nice guy. He's like, hey, he just kind of goes and talks to Emmett. He doesn't fight him right away, and then he goes to his dad. He's like, well, I guess I got to make my dad happy. Time to fight you, Emmett. But he's a chill dude, and he dies with like a sword through his, you know, body that his dad does. So, what do you guys kind of think of that? Because at the end, it's like, Emmett dies, his son lives, but I guess the big bad guy kind of lives, but he's in his own thing, and his son dies.
I was under the impression that the big bad guy died, and then his son maybe lived, but also could have died because the whole kingdom fell into a collapsing star.
That's also possible.
Yeah, I think that's the way it ends. Is that like it sort of ends ambiguously, where because Roy goes into the kingdom of the gods to get Emmett,
Mm-hmm.
and the ending is just like Emmett gives him his memories, and then Roy just like takes Valifax and like leaves Aristus and Adam to like fight it out. Like that's what I there's like this panel, there's this page in issue 6 where it's like it's in Emmett is like, or Roy is holding Emmett's body, and it's like in focus, and in the background, like completely blurred out, is Aristus and Adam fighting each other, and the only way you can tell it's Aristus and Adam is because of the like the color schemes, because it's just completely blurred out into the background. Um, it's the kind of thing where like
That's a really cool scene. Yeah.
I was reading it digitally, and I flipped the page and I was like, "Yep, Chad found it." I flipped the page on my digital reader and I was like, wait, is it just like is the resolution like not loading? And I'm like, oh wait, no, of course. It's like this is obviously like an intentional moment of like
Mm-hmm.
they're just sort of fighting
Oh,
it
he does
out.
kill his kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets fucked up at the end, and the dad's still alive. Not that it
Well, I
matters. I
think
mean,
the
to
dad
leave
that
the realm.
it is
He's probably
implied
dead
that the
too.
dad dies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the whole realm and the sword.
I mean, because the whole thing is the dad Adam like basically sacrificed the realm of the gods to create Valifax, right?
Yep.
Like
And
he
then
like
sacrifice. Yeah,
and then and like that's the only like that he became so lost in like securing like something as his legacy of in Valifax that he like lost sight of his
yeah.
relationship with.
And he sacrificed his kids, which is it's nice because then it's like, hey, Emmett's whole legacy is his kids, and he gives that memory to him, and that's the whole book, right? It's like it's the stories of the people who are outlive us.
And I love that line where Aristus like after Baelgrim dies and Aristus alludes to like there being two other brothers who like died in really futile ways like prior to God Country. It's just like those like small little bits of dialogue that just fill in the backgrounds of like who Adam is as like who Adam's character is and Cates does this for like every character in the book where you get these like little moments or little lines of dialogue that really like shade in the like otherwise ambiguous backgrounds of the characters, and like moments like that are just phenomenal.
I can't believe they put the Roy family in space.
I don't think Chad and
No, that joke was
the...
just for you, John.
Yeah, thank you. We got Roy's, we got Quinlan, like we got all the hits.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, we've gotten this far, and we haven't mentioned. I mean, we did mention it, but we didn't mention Jean-Luc hasn't really jumped into the fact that the main character's name is Quinlan, like Quinlan Voss. Is this a confirmation that this is a Star Wars story, or
you stood up and left, and I introduced Emmett Quinlan as Emmett Quinlan Voss.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll stop there. That's okay.
Though,
I'll tap out.
Fun fact: his middle name is G. Biv.
Emily,
shut the
that.
fuck up, Jean-Luc. I know that's all that matters. Only one person needed to.
That's the good thing of having more people on the show too. Higher chance people laugh. That's the real secret to podcasting.
I got a golf clap.
Speaking of funny things, God Country deals heavily with Alzheimer's and the destructive power of memory. We kind of talked about it before, but how do you guys think that this book sort of handled the disease and sort of put it into a book that you're like, oh, it's a comic book, ha ha ha, nice.
I don't really know. I've never at least up until now, I've never really had to personally deal with a family member struggling with Alzheimer's, and so I don't really feel like I don't have any sort of relevant experience to say whether or not I thought it was well handled, but I think I mean, it's a very touching book, and it was very it seemed like it was very sensitively handled, but also I don't know if I can say that.
Fair.
My experience with Alzheimer's is largely like watching 60 minutes interviews with either people with it or people that have a loved one that has it. So obviously no personal experience, but from just I guess like a vague research level, like it seems really spot on. It feels very humanized. It feels very accurate to what I know about the disease. I am not interested in learning more because it's just such a tragic illness that it's like,
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer. Not a lot of people are
Yeah.
talking about how Alzheimer's is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, Alzheimer's is canceled. We are canceling Alzheimer's.
Yeah. No longer allowed to come here.
I heard Alzheimer's say a racial slur once, so
whoa! Breaking news.
People with Alzheimer's have definitely said racial slurs.
Yeah, I don't blame them for that though. They have like literal brainworms.
Yeah, that's not.
Quinlan has said a racial slur.
Yes, of course.
He lives in Texas.
Of course he has. No, on the Alzheimer's thing, I mean, like it seems very like my experience with it is also fairly limited. My great grandma had it. I was very young. I didn't know, like, she passed away when I was like 11 or 12, so I didn't know her very well, but like I've never seen like my grandpa like more like sad than in the moments where like he would try to talk to her and she like wouldn't know who he was, because that was his mom.
Yeah.
And like so that part of it is like the part of it at the beginning where Roy is like clearly so distraught that his father can't even remember him. Like that to me is like that's the side of it that like I have like at least a very small amount of familiarity with it, and that like Red is very real to me. And also what Red is very real to me is the like Roy's like insistence that like he doesn't want to put his dad in a home. And that's like also like a very like there's a tendency like in Western cultures in particular, and I think America even more so than like other countries, of like just toss old people in an old person's home, like, and forget about them more or less. And
Hey,
so
that's big business, Jean-Luc.
I
It's true.
know that's why like it was like that's an American thing. We invented that.
Yeah, I just like that they did that they had it to like, the sword helped him, but it wasn't, even the power of the gods wasn't something that could just like, hey,
Oh yeah.
Alzheimer's is cured. It was like a brief thing, which is, kind of the whole story. But it really added some weight to it. Over to Chad. What was your favorite moment in God Country?
I love, and I feel like this is a repeat of maybe the last time we talked about God Country back in
Well, it's a new
2017.
podcast.
But when Valifax is talking to the granddaughter, and it's just like, I am not a toy, I am every sword ever, and I am spilling blood as we speak, and then she like cries and runs away, and he's just like, I'm not good at talking to children.
It's a very Chad
And
moment.
Emmett's just like, yeah, no shit. And it's like, God, that moment is so fucking good. It humanizes the sword while also giving it lore. Like, it does two things so well.
Mhm.
And I love that halfway through it, the sword like tries to salvage it. Valifax is like, "Oh, I'm also like every great hero, wielding my blade and giving them courage," and and she is still just like horrified by the things that are coming. Well, I guess they're not coming out of the sword's mouth, but by the things the sword is saying.
I also love that she, after a certain point, starts carrying around like a toy sword, and I'm just like, is Valifax in that sword too? Because I think he is. I think that's how he
I
works.
choose to believe that.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, does she not get hurt because she's carrying around this toy sword?
Oh, I like that.
It's very cute.
Well, yeah, and the only moment where she's in any real danger is when Baelgrim takes her, and she doesn't. There's like the panel at the end of the issue where the sword is left in the kitchen with her parents. It's a good like that's like such a good narrative device that she's just emulating her grandpa in that one.
My favorite moment also has to do with the granddaughter. My favorite moment is just like when what is the war god's name?
Aristus.
When Aristus is stuck on Earth and he's just like, once again, I do not know who is going to win between your grandfather and my dad. And she's like, I think my grandpa's gonna win. And he's like, well, okay, kid. Like, it's just, I really like when Aristus is stuck on Earth. It's just really funny and good. Like the conversations he has with like the family. Oh, it's very cute.
It makes you wish that
great for. Oh, wait, I'm gonna interject. The moment's great because her facial expression is brilliant because she's so pissed and defiant and just like, try me, bitch.
So good.
But also like Aristus is being so charitable and just like, I realize I am dealing with a mortal child. I have to act a certain way, and she is like just spitting on his goodwill, and he's taking it so well, and like that dynamic is so cute. It's so good.
Aristus is such a homie.
What was
really
such a homie?
I love him. He's great.
I'd go to a Juggalo concert with him.
It's like I also just love that like he shows up and it's like this big threatening like 12-foot tall dude in like ancient Greek armor with a hammer, and it's just like, oh, this guy's come to like fuck them up. And then he just hangs out with them. He's like they're just friendly with each other. It's like such a good like it's such a minor like little subversion of expectations that happens like within just like one issue, but it's so fun.
I mean, he's just like another guy that wishes he had a better relationship with his dad
Yeah,
at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
yeah. Yeah, like he has really no like he doesn't care about Valifax at the end of the day, right? Like
No.
it's
No.
just it's just like his only motivation is you know, getting back in his father's good graces while he watches his dad like throw everything away.
Which is the same
Yeah.
thing that Roy's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Whew.
Wow. It
Pretty good.
rhymes.
A little
Love
bit.
it.
Jean-Luc, favorite moment. I think you might have already mentioned it though.
I did mention it, but another one that I really like is the panel where Roy, in the last issue, when Roy comes back from the God dimension, and he just throws Valifax away, and there's just that one panel where you see Valifax in the foreground and him hugging his wife and daughter like in the background, and Valifax is just lying in the grass. That is that moment like also like really hits for me.
Yeah.
Like I love that of just like you could like the people trying to take this extremely powerful tool from you are like dead. You could have Valifax and you know have all of the power that comes with it. And that's just not the thing that's important at the end of the day, which is what it
Yeah.
just sums up like the thesis statement of the book so well.
Yeah.
Those panels, that page, the whole page
Mm.
where that happens, really.
Yeah. For me, I mean, like they're all great moments. But for me, it's the one on the T-shirt. It's the end of issue 2 when good old when our good buddy Aristus goes back to his dear old dad, and he's like, "Yeah, so like they didn't give the sword back, and he has a message for you." And it's like, "What is the message?" And it's like, "Come and take it." And it's like, "Oh shit,
So
they're gonna
good.
fight! It's gonna be so good." It's just such like a cool badass thing to say. And that, you know, this is a book that has so much depth and all over the place, and it's cool that they also have moments where it's just like, they're gonna fight, let's go.
I'm still like not over how well this balances all of the things it does. And like I said, everything feels just effortless. I don't know what I would love to talk to Donnie Cates for like 4 hours on how he wrote this, because it just so precise. Every word, every like punctuation mark just feels like precisionally placed to tell this story and to create an emotional response. Like there is no fluff in this comic at all.
Oh yeah.
And I think the only times he's come close to this is his first couple arcs of Redneck. I think were also this good.
Oh, 100, yeah.
And then
Like
after that,
the first
Which
12
is
issues of Redneck were on par with it.
yeah,
And it's so
which is
funny.
about the same time.
Yeah, so it's actually really funny because the digital ones I was reading have like the ads in the background for like other image books that are coming out, and like Redneck is one of them. Like there's an ad for Redneck at the back of like issues 3 through 6, I think, and it's just like, man, what a fucking heyday this like Donnie Cates had.
Yeah.
With
Donnie
like,
Cates plus like Southern US like stories
oh
at
my
this
God,
time.
yeah.
It's just like that was his
Yeah.
thing.
Well, I mean,
So
you can
good.
really tell that he's like writing about the place that he's from too, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's the same
absolutely.
thing. Like, it's one of those things that like when you get comics that are like set ostensibly in the real world, I think like That Texas Blood does this really well too, which is an ongoing book. But
Still good, by the way.
still, dude, this current arc is phenomenal. I highly recommend That Texas Blood to people who want a good crime comic. But just like when you write about places that you're from and like really it captures it in a way like, I'm not from Texas. I've been to Texas once. I have like no personal connection to it, but it's like, damn, Texas is in my heart after reading God Country. And you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's also like, I didn't realize at the time reading this that like Come and Take It was like a thing they said in Texas and like put on shirts and stuff. But
They
like
spell it CUM. It's weird.
damn, I gotta get out to Texas.
Let's go to
boy.
Texas.
But no, it's like just stuff like that. Like you just feel a connection to the place where it, like not just the characters, but the place where it takes place because it feels so filled in. And like Chad said, like all that is like effortless. And I also want to say, like, I love the framing device for this too. That it's like and you basically only get it at a couple points. You get it like at the very beginning and a couple times interspersed, and then at the very end, where it's like, you know, a great whatever grand, like some descendant of the Quinlan family,
Mm-hmm.
and starts out like those first like 3 pages of issue 1, where it like starts out like zooming in on Earth from space, and then the end of issue 6 being like zooming out on Earth and into space, and seeing the stars. Like the way that that is framed is just like it's just such a like perfect end cap to it, of like, this is about like this is a book about like having a legacy, but like that legacy is just like the stories that you pass down, and like the like special moments that you share with people, and the way that that like trickles down through generations, and like builds a sort of like lore and mythos around like the people that you're directly related to. It's really cool.
I would say, to tag that, the legacy is also only as important as the people telling it. Like,
Right.
the kinds of people, like, this is like a family story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why this story is so much better, is that it's like it belongs to this family, and the love of this family is what keeps it going.
Mhm.
It's not like this, reading a history book and it's a bunch of facts and numbers. It's like, no, this really happened. I'm going to tell you about my great granddad who
Yeah.
sword fought a god, and it's real because Texas got fucked up for a weekend, and you can go Google that.
Yeah, and and that's a really great point, that like all the like little lines about like, yeah, every time we tell this it gets longer, because like we're expanding on like the myth of like these people
Yeah.
that are in the past. Like it's really it's cool. And then like I also love that little line, like when Aristus and Emmett are fighting about how like there's not a single family in the state of Texas that doesn't have a story about the night of that fight, because like they could feel it all the way like out in Amarillo or
Out
whatever.
in Corpus Christi.
Mhm.
Out in Corpus Christi, yeah, that's right. Like it's just like, yeah, like it's just like little, again, it's like those little like lines that just like
So good.
tell you so much about the significance of this story, and like the way that like it could, like, who knows, and this is something that's like totally admitted by like that like narrator, is that like, who knows how much of it is really true, but it doesn't matter, because it's more it's not like the gods and the sword, it's like the relationships that they had with each other. Like in reality, maybe this was just like the last few good days that Emmett had, where like he came back to being himself, and had like a few days in a row where like that were like these beautiful final moments, where they got to like, Roy and his wife and his daughter and Emmett got to like make memories together, and then over generations it's become symbolized by the sword and a fight in a war in heaven and all of that. But it's, at the end of the day, it always comes back to that, like, this is what people meant to each other.
Yes, Alex. Yes. Okay, Alex wrote in our chat, it's a sad song, but we sing it anyway, which is from Hades Sound, which I did also think about when I was reading the end of this book. So I'm glad that you also made that connection.
Yeah. Important question. Which God Country character do you think cries the most? We'll start with Chad, because we do this every week. So Chad, who's
I
the
didn't
crier?
realize this was. I guess I don't listen to the show, right?
What the fuck? Yeah.
Bale Grimm seems like a sad little masturbator. I bet he cries while he jerks off.
Wow. Thank you, Chad. Emily,
Yeah, we
do you also think that it's
were really missing that je ne sais quoi that the comics podcast used to have.
it's hard to put a finger on it?
I think Dina cries the most because she's a child.
Facts, logic. Take that. And Jean-Luc?
I think Roy cries the most because he's a soy boy pussy.
Damn. You know what?
His mom, as Emmett says, his mom hugged him too much.
What about you, Alex?
I think that Jane cries the most because she hates her husband.
She doesn't hate her husband.
She does not hate her husband.
I think she does. And God
I
Country 2
refuse to believe that. Oh, fuck off.
coming soon.
Oh yeah, there's an issue of crossover where it turns out that they've been divorced. They had a really bitter divorce.
No.
Could you imagine?
I got 2 questions left before we wrap up. I don't know which one to go with. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with. Does Chad miss us? Emily, does Chad miss us?
I hope so. I miss Chad.
Okay, cool. Now we'll go on to the last question, which is
Well, no one else gets to answer that one.
no. And okay, for the record, I didn't put this discussion question in. I respect whoever did, but we're gonna go around the panel.
It's a mystery.
Did that one.
Starting with, we'll start with Jean-Luc this time. How big do you think Emmett's dick is, Jean-Luc?
I think Emmett's dick is proportionally as big as Valifax is to the gods.
Okay.
I don't know how to translate that into a length, but
he has to wear some baggy shorts, is what you're saying.
more or less, yeah.
Was he wearing baggy shorts? While I look that up, Emily,
No, he's wearing jeans the whole time.
I
baller move.
think that he probably has a normal size dick.
Bold.
Honestly, it is
Chad,
a little bolder for me to say that because I could have gone on some lengthy and terrible description, but I'm switching it up.
Like a dick.
There you go.
Well, not like all dicks, Chad. Some of them are not lengthy.
Chad.
But all of them are terrible.
Exactly.
All of them are, exactly. They're all horrible, but some of
the
them
official stance. We're against Alzheimer's and we're against dicks. Welcome. Chad, do you have your answer?
I'm not like wholly against.
No, I'm not going to answer like that immature of a question. Come on, you guys have me on as a guest.
Sorry.
Ask me how big the main character's dick is.
I know. Well, no,
I'm sorry, Chad. You want to talk about maturity?
Yeah, no. He's right. You know, it's something we ask every episode. We did. You know, the other guests have been fine with it, but I understand that you're not Chad, and that's okay. It's all right.
We should have talked about how big Claudio's dick is on the Amory Wars episode. That would have made the episode better, I think.
No, we would have needed to talk about how big Mayo's dick is.
Well, unfathomable.
I know.
Do you guys
I
hear
did miss
that
you
sound?
guys, by the way.
Yay! That's the sound of Chad missing us. And it might also sound. It's great to hear. Yeah, it's been great having you back, Chad. As a special person on this show. Not that Emily and Jean-Luc and me aren't special on this show. I think I cherish you all.
I am not special. I'm like a little bit below replacement level.
Wow. Well, you've gone 12 episodes, maybe 13 episodes deep, and you're still here, Jean-Luc. So, congratulations. But yes, that sound was the Doomsday Clock, which means it is time for our first ever Cry Space. You know, friends of the show will know that we haven't done this before because it's our first ever Cry Space. So that's how it works. But the way it works is we're going to highlight one thing this week that made us cry. Inspired by no shows, inspired by no other people. This is original. And because you've been on the show every episode, Emily, I'd like you to go first.
Okay.
Oh, the answer is everything. I know Emily pretty well.
That's fair. But I'll have to pick out something specific. I mean, this book definitely made me cry, but
That's a cop.
Oh yeah, my cat. No, my fucking cat got out a couple of days ago, and I cried for like 3 hours.
I mean,
he came.
That was intense.
Reason to cry.
He came back. He's fine.
I'm so happy he came back.
Me too.
I saw the Twitter. I saw the Twitter thread after, and then I like
You went through the
I saw the whole
roller
journey of like
coaster emotions in 1 second.
Then, yeah, so I'm glad Buster's home safe.
And he didn't even get hurt, so I don't have to.
He didn't even learn a lesson.
Yeah, he didn't even learn a lesson.
Jesus, that's unfortunate. That's a good cry space. Someone else has been on the show. Not at all. Chad, what's your cry space?
I don't have one.
Okay, Jean-Luc, your turn. While Chad's thinking.
Nothing made you cry this week?
I cry maybe once a year.
You should get that.
Okay,
And it was
well,
this week.
What
You
makes
should be on the
you
show
As
more
someone who
often.
couldn't handle
You'll cry
a
more.
cartoon, a children's cartoon having a death scene in it, you know, I feel like you're not the person to tell me to get
handle
shit checked
it.
out.
I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
messaged me. You're just like, they didn't have the warning when I watched it. It
No,
was very.
I said it was shocking because I didn't expect them to go there. I didn't think I needed.
You definitely cried at the end of the season 2 of Amphibia, though.
I don't know that I.
Spoilers for season 2
I
of
definitely
Amphibia.
cried at the end of season 1. I don't know if I cried at the end of season 2.
Wow, Marmar getting fucked.
Well, she's not. I mean, I guess spoiler alert, but she's not dead.
God, I kind of figured.
Oh,
Disney, you don't have the balls.
They don't.
they don't. At least they're still making quality animation, though.
They finally made a good Star Wars product.
I'm 2 episodes into Cassian so far. So good.
Oh, I finished the Book of Boba Fett. Didn't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I think that's like the uniform opinion. That shit is bad.
But how great is Tamora Morrison's accent when he's all like he's New Zealand and stuff? He's pretty cool.
Is he the blue guy?
He's Boba Fett.
Oh, who's the blue guy with the red eyes? I like that one.
Is that the blue guy with the red eyes? Who's that?
The fucking cowboy.
Oh,
Cat
Cat Bane. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I want him in a show.
Oh, there's a show with him in it. It's called The Clone Wars.
I'm not gonna watch that shit though. That's
Chad doesn't watch animated programs. Who do you think he is? Jeez. Right? Okay, good. Wow. But Chad, what's one thing that made you sad this week then?
I'm having a friend of mine read a book of mine and it give me advice, and he's like, "Hey, your epilogue is so bad, you need to either cut it or rewrite it or both, because it is no good." And I was like, "Oh shit." And then he explained why, and he was absolutely right. And I'm like, "Oh no, that's like 2 or 3 hours worth of work."
Oh dang.
But I didn't cry. I was just kind of quietly seething.
It can be a
quietly seething in the book club.
Seething space.
Damn. Well, yeah. Isn't that the worst when someone reads your book and gives you good advice and you have to like act on it?
It fucking sucks, but also, that's part of the process. It's like, ripping off a Band-Aid or something. And then putting it back on, then ripping it back off, putting it back on, and ripping it back off. Applying
That sounded good to you.
adhesive, so
You
it
should
still
become a
continues
writer.
to hurt.
That's how Donnie Cates did to God Country. So, magic. Jean-Luc, you want to cry in this space?
Yeah, I have a very obvious cry space, which is that I saw My Chemical Romance last week, and I gotta say, I did cry at multiple points during the show. It was like that's an experience that like for years I had just like written off as like I'm never gonna see them, and MCR is a band that's been like obviously very important to me at multiple stages in my life. And I was like, I'm never gonna see them. It's not gonna happen. And then COVID delayed the show by like almost 3 years, but I finally got to do it. And just hearing like the whole like arena singing along to like I'm Not Okay and Teenagers, but it was really, I didn't really expect this, but it was Helena that really got me. I was like in tears, like just completely like in tears, ugly crying during Helena, like all the way through Helena. But it was a beautiful experience. It was a beautiful experience.
That's great to hear.
I would love to do it again.
I was gonna say you should go see the show that you can see in like a week.
Yeah.
Or,
it's on Friday. I think I'm just gonna go. I think I'm just gonna go see Lamb of God. The tickets are $200 cheaper.
Oh wow,
yeah, that's fair.
Are they free? Like, geez.
Unfortunately, no.
Wow, those are some good cry spaces. My cry space is that I have COVID. But yeah, I don't know. I went to Hawaii, had a good 5 days, went surfing, went to some pretty places, and then got COVID.
Oh, I'm curious. Yes. How is surfing for you? Because I went to Hawaii when I was in high school. That was like the big family trip.
Yeah.
We tried to surf. It was a total shit show. We basically paddled out like forever. Yeah. The waves weren't really big enough. None of us had the balance. I fell over, cut my foot open on a piece of coral, and then swam back, and then was like, I'm so tired, I'm just gonna sleep on this beach for 4 hours. So that was how I surfed. How did yours go?
It was a little better than that. We got a package where we had like a instructor with us, so we were out there. And it was basically like he would like wait for the wave to come, and then like push us onto it and be like, stand now, and then we'd stand, and then we'd like surf a little bit. So I didn't really learn how to surf. Like I didn't really learn how to like find a wave. I just learned to like lie on my board and then like get up at a certain time. But I did get up. I did there was most of the time I was just like really like still and static. And then the guy taking pictures was like, "You look like a robot." And I was like, "That's kind of rude." It's like, I'm paying money here. Jeez, I'm
Hey,
having
you look like
fun.
a movie star.
But apparently I looked like a robot. So then the
Also,
next time yeah.
is crying so normal that you guys can do this once a week?
No.
Well, it's like a glad space, but we didn't want to copy a certain
So
show.
it's like the
and we're called Crying in the
opposite.
Book Club.
So it's our sad
Yeah.
space.
But most of the
Okay.
time it's like, you know, we have happy cries.
That's true.
And you know, yeah.
I don't
But
have
yes,
those either.
we are emotionally unstable. But you know
Most
that.
of the time, it's not actually crying. It's like something made me feel a very strong emotion.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
but,
one of
you
the
know,
weeks, my cry space was that I actually liked the new Game of Thrones show, which means I have to see Matt Smith's face in a television show once a week.
and he sobbed for 20 minutes straight on the show though. It's very moving. It's very good.
Okay, I understand this better now.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But all that to say, then I chilled and I was relaxing on one of the waves, and I went like 30 feet farther than I did the other time. So surfing was pretty cool. Hawaii was cool. I'm sick now, but not as sick as I was in the hotel. And then I had to buy 2 extra nights and a new plane fare, which was that made me sad because money.
Yeah, I bet that.
But then I came home and there was a Steam Deck, so it's a happy time.
Yay!
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, that's it. We've made it through an episode of Crying in the Book Club with our second ever special guest.
Yeah.
Who's your first?
Alice.
Alice was on for
Oh,
the
fuck
Alice
yeah.
was on the Coheed episode.
yeah, the Coheed show. Yeah, I couldn't handle being on that episode.
Wow, that
Yeah,
is
I
on
was not
brand,
there.
isn't it?
Which means that the episode is entirely masturbatory.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was no one there to balance it out.
No one there to balance
which
us
I think
out.
is good. I think that's our longest episode.
It's 2
I was
hours
looking at
and
the times.
45 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, so-
I
That's
had
like
to
a
edit
Joe
that.
Rogan
I did forget
episode.
it was that long.
Yeah. But yes, thanks for everybody for coming by. And thanks, Chad, for stopping by the episode. We I know I had a great time with you here and would definitely love to have you on again if you wanted to at some point.
Yeah, this was like really nostalgic. I brought like notes and brain power, and I didn't get that drunk. You know, the comics podcast, I was never like quite on this game, and if I come back, I can't guarantee I will be. But I did have a lot of fun. This was a good time.
I think that's part of the fun. Do you have any of your notes you still want to talk about? Anything you missed before we head out? Because I mean, you put in the work.
No. Yeah. So I was really curious on Valofax, the name of the sword, and I was like, is there some like important shit in this name? So I went on Google and I was like, oh, fax as a suffix, and it was like, no, it doesn't exist. And I was like, okay, how about fax? And it's like, oh, here we go. There's some stuff because if you read Lord of the Rings, Gandalf's his name's Gandalf, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
Yes.
It's been a wee bit. So his horse is named Shadowfax because he's the Lord of all horses. I was like, well, Valofax is the Lord of all swords. Is there something here? And it turns out the answer is no. I think Donnie Case just likes Tolkien. And so if you see Fax at the end of a fantasy name, it is related to Tolkien and not anything special.
I like how you didn't know Gandalf's name, but you knew that his horse's name.
Very
And you knew that it
confident
was,
on
like,
the
tied to his
horse's
sword.
name,
Like,
not at all
yeah,
confident
you're
on
like-
the wizard's name.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Typical of a
How it goes.
former My Little Pony watcher.
Hey, I wonder what Shadowfax's cutie mark is.
That's a good question. We'll answer
I
that
don't know
in
what
the
the
next
fuck that
episode.
means.
That's a good question.
Stay tuned for the next episode where we answer that question.
Yeah, where Chad comes back and we read My Little Pony comics.
Don't threaten me
Oh.
with a good time.
Don't threaten Emily with a
Luke,
good
it's
time.
happening. It's happening now. That's,
I shouldn't
that's-
have- I shouldn't have
Admittedly,
said
there are
that.
no really good 4 or 5 arc issues of MLP. They typically end like shit. So I won't subject that to you.
we can read the first 2 issues of like 6 of them though, right? Just get a
Yeah,
nice
it's
start.
usually a
We
good
can
start.
read
Nice.
the one where Rarity becomes Nightmare Moon.
You can find our show at Crying Book Club, at Crying Book Club on Twitter. Rate and review us 5 stars. We have an email that probably hasn't gotten any emails yet because we haven't checked it and we don't really plug it, but it is at what is it
Crying
at?
Book
Is that why
Club.
we don't get any emails? At cryingbookclub@gmail.com. So check that out.
It's just
Jean?
cryingbookclub@gmail.com. There's no ad at the beginning.
Yeah, I think he just meant like
You broke my brain. You broke. Okay, all right, John Luke. I'm gonna do your plug for you because of that. You can find him on Twitter at Mountain Dew Liker, on Letterboxd at JLBotBill. I don't know if I know he's been updating his scores. I don't know if you've been updating your reviews. Is that correct?
I haven't watched a movie in like 2 weeks, dude.
wow.
Wow, that's sad. Almost as sad as if you went to Twitter and followed Alex Hansiuk because he doesn't tweet, but he does check out everyone else's tweets. So that's kind of fun.
Sometimes you like my
Emily.
tweets.
Yeah, I mean, I always
Wow,
like
he
your
doesn't
tweets.
like my tweets.
The question is whether I physically
Oh,
do
okay.
it. I always like your tweets, John Luke. Also, Chad, I don't know, hit and miss. It's there. No, there was something this week. Anyway, Twitter, Emily, M Pandanata. You can find her on Letterboxd at Pandabor, Twitch at Pandabor, and you are streaming the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney
Yes,
game.
I'm on the
still,
second
correct?
game now, and I'm very excited to the next episode or the next part of the game that I'm about to get to. I get to meet a character that I've been hotly anticipating since beginning this endeavor. So she's a mean woman.
Aren't we all? You can check out Emily's podcast, Imagine Me, You in a fresh podcast market, and probably debuting by the time this episode's
At some
out.
point,
But we've been saying that for 6 months. That looks terrible.
I do not control the edit of the podcast on that one, so
I can see that Chad wants to ask about that one, but he can't because
If you liked this episode of Crying in the Book Club, you can listen to the only episode of Imagine Me and Uchin I've ever listened to, which is the episode Chad was in.
yeah, it was good.
And I don't remember.
I listened to that one too.
But if you need more Chad in your life and don't want to listen to the 5 years of comics podcasts that we did,
then what's your problem?
You can listen to him talk about anime instead.
Yeah,
Sounded
that
very
episode.
smart.
I wrote up some plugs for Chad down here.
It's true. You can find Jean. You can find Chad. Wow. Oh, all right, okay, folks. Chad's not getting a plug. Chad, find his Twitter at InAutumnBand. He's got some good stuff. His writing at inautumn.wordpress.com. Books. Yes, you're right. The person you heard speaking is a published author. Check out his books on Amazon. Search up Chad Waller.
Where you can find Dreamscapes and Toyland
the Ninth Life?
and the Ninth Life.
Oh, you are good friends.
I remembered.
Hey, Jean-Luc, you were quiet there. Was there a reason, or you just knew the answers?
I own all 3 of those books.
You can find Chad's music at inautumn.
I've bought. Why do you guys look at me like that? I bought and read.
Methinks the Jean doth protest too much.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Some of you guys have to wait for Chad's books to go to market before you get to read them.
Oh shit, he's pulling that.
I get exclusive early access before they're even finished.
Are you the guy who told him his epilogue was
I
shit?
thought you.
Or is that someone else?
For a minute, I thought that Chad was going to be talking about Jean-Luc.
Oh no, he's only on like chapter 4, and he's had it for 3 months. But
I'm on chapter 5, and I read the last 3 chapters and the epilogue today.
The things I have to change.
Chad is also a game maker. You can find The Land of Glass on Steam. You can find it on itch.io. You can also find this little anime game, which name I forget, Chad. But what is it
Soul
called?
Wishes on
Soul Wishes.
itch.io.
You want to tell everyone about it quickly?
Soul Wishes is a really dumb rhythm game. We made a anime inspired rock song for it. And you play as is like the main character of an anime. You gotta shoot a Kamehameha, and like as you do the rhythm stuff, your Kamehameha gets bigger than your enemies until you kill your enemy. But you can put your own music in. It will load in whatever MP3 file you throw at it or wave.
Oh, that's fun.
Nice. And where can people find that game?
That's on itch.io.
Check it out on itch.io. And lastly, you can check out Chad's podcast with friend of the show, Cameron. I say friend of the show. I don't think he's ever listened to it. Neither has Chad, but we'll still call him friend of the show. That's fine. It's all good. Check out Opinions Are Cheap, which is one of my favorite podcasts. I quite enjoy listening to it. And I'm actually, you know what? I think I'm at episode like 160 of my re-listen, which has been interesting. I've been taking notes.
Oh boy.
I am so I want to claw these notes out of you, Alex. I'm so curious.
It's been good.
Mostly because I don't remember most of the episodes we do because I get pretty drunk on them, and so I'm just
Yeah.
like, what stupid thing would the world cancel me
Oh my
for
God.
that I
I
said
like how
on
I-
this?
Alex, you should
I like
make
when
up
I- yeah.
you should make up like a big like pop quiz, or like make maybe write up a bunch of like funny things and make Cameron and Chad guess who said what, or
Yeah,
who had what opinion
actually
on something, or make them
Yeah.
try to own up to the things they've said.
I've had a few ideas because I put way too much time into this thing already. So I think that'd be a great idea. Might even get some other people on too.
Nice.
I don't know. It's their show. See what you do. But yes, this has been an episode of Crying in the Book Club. Thanks so much for stopping by, and remember to not forget